today we're going to talk about overcoming. Overcoming is a word that is used a lot in your Bible. In your King James, you'll see it as prevail. When you get into the New Testament, you'll actually see the word overcome. But those two words are interchangeable. And so, y'all place it upon me to give us some words of encouragement on overcoming. We're going to start with Jacob, our closest near forefather. Yeah. What we were birthed out of. He had maybe the biggest test of overcoming more than anyone, because he had to deal with the repercussions of deceitfully gaining his blessing. Just the backdrop of that story, if y'all don't know, Esau was out doing some things in the woods, came back hungry, asked his brother to give him something to eat. And his brother was like, I eat some. You gotta give me some. You know, how y'all do, how you do with your little brother. Hey, I trade you this for that. Well, Esau was so hungry, and probably wasn't thinking. But all right, I'll trade you my blessing. Now, to give y'all a side note on that, I don't know how many of y'all subscribe to the Lost Books, but if you just subscribe to the Lost Books, it's a book for first Adam and Eve and second Adam and Eve, and in them books, it actually describes what Esau was doing to cause him to feel that he should give away his blessing. And I give you that story. It's simple. Esau, in those books, is the one that killed Nimrod. He was in the wilderness and he hunted down Nimrod. But what did he take from Nimrod? Y'all know? The coats of skin. It's the coats of skin. So those coats of skin, the first sacrifice that Yah did for Adam and Eve, they were actually really coats of skin. Remember, sin is only covered by death, right? So we needed a sacrifice back then. And those coats of skin carried on. Adam gave them to Seth. Seth gave them to Methuselah. Methuselah gave them to Noah. Ham stole them from Noah. And Ham gave it to Nimrod. So Nimrod, and if you look through the Bible, you'll see it was a point in time where Nimrod, Jacob, Esau, and Abraham were all on earth at the same time. I believe Esau, the book says Esau was 17 years old when he actually killed Nimrod. But fast forward to him going to his brother. He was in distraught, so he thought that his life was over anyway. He just killed the king of the earth. At that time, Nimrod was that guy. When he killed him, he was with a whole army. He just happened to get him by himself. And so he comes back to his brother. He didn't care. He thought his life was over, so he gave away his blessing. But in return, doing that deceitfully, there's repercussions behind that. We may, in life, we do some things and we know we do them out of basically ill game. We cut some corners, bend a few straight lines, but we've done it. And if it transgressed the law, there's some sort of repercussion behind it. It may not be a repercussion of you going straight to hell or even death, but you're going to have some kind of repercussion behind it. And so Jacob's repercussion was great. But it was also great because he had to bring forth that blessing that y'all put on. So we're going to go to Genesis 32. We're going to read verse 28. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with Elohim, and with men has prevailed. There's another translation. In the scriptures it reads, and he said, your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Israel, because you have striven with Elohim and with men and have overcome. Israel means to strive with El and to overcome with El, or to rule with El. So, overcoming is it's a situation where, for us, overcoming is our everything. It's almost our purpose in living. Because we were, especially when I say us, I'm talking about us in this present time. We were dealt a hand that it seems almost impossible. And the only thing and the only choice we have really is to overcome. Because the only other option is death. With Jacob, he wrestled with this angel. And he wrestled so long that all he wanted was a blessing. A lot of times we are caught in that same situation. We wrestle with our inner self so much. And the only thing we want out of life is a blessing. We don't, and I ain't talking about, a lot of us ain't looking to be rich or, wealthy. I mean, like my wife was saying, some people want a simple day. That's a blessing. But overcoming your anxieties, overcoming your fears, overcoming the daily bridges set upon you is your fight. That's your fight. To show you that fight that Jacob was having wasn't really with a man. Even though he hurt his hip, you ever been in your sleep and having a dream, you woke up, oh man, like what I was doing. Like those things, I'm going to show you why this was all in his mind. It was a dream. Go to the next slide for me, Caleb. It's in the battlefield of the mind. We're going to go to the next verse, which is Genesis 32 and 30. All right. Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen El face to face, and my life is preserved. Where does El live for you? Inside of us. Heart. What's the heart? The mind. There's a special part in your mind that possesses that area. The pineal gland. There you go, my man. You know a little something. Hey, go to the next slide for me, Jay. Okay. The pineal gland. The pineal gland was described as the seat of the soul. And it's located in the center of the brain. The The main function of the pineal gland is to receive information about the state of the light-dark cycle from the environment and convey the information to produce and secrete hormone melatonin. Wow. So it's funny that he names this place pineal, and the actual root word of pineal is pineal. It's the same word. So when you see, if you want to see God, you want to see him for who he really is, you have to go into the deepest parts of your mind. This is why you have to, he tells us to meditate on his word day and night. Because this is how you get things in your heart. This is how things get embedded in your conscience. If you don't take the time to grind down the word, grind down his promises, grind down his laws, grind down his statutes, you won't understand him when he visits you. You don't know that it's him. This is why Jacob was battling so hard, because he didn't know who he was dealing with. His mind the whole time trying to get him right, telling him, hey, big fella, I got you, relax. He want to fight because he didn't know what he was dealing with. That's why he kept asking, man, what's your name? Don't worry about my name. I'm going to tell you your name, though. You got a new name that's going on. Hit that next slide for me. It's Superman. I put this here for a purpose, for a reason. What's wrong with that picture? Besides the white face. Besides the white face.
The symbol on his chest.
He can't be restrained like that.
So, here we are. I'm finna go there. Come on, man. The elves of this earth.
Come on.
We are.
He's from the house of elves.
I ain't gonna even go that deep. I'm not even gonna even hit them with that. Ain't that simple. No, since you said I'm gonna do it. Hey, go back. What's Superman real name?
Clark Kent.
Kal-El.
No, Kal-El, which means what? Son of God. That's what Kal-El means. He's from the house of El.
Well, I tell you.
That's just a nitpick.
Okay, I got you.
It
go deep.
It go real deep.
Don't let me preach now.
But, yeah, we're not going Super Saiyan today. Hey, but this picture is such an oxymoron. We walk around here like this every day. Every day, this is us. Like Paul said, knowing a form of godliness, but not walking therein. This is us. I put this up here to encourage you. Stop holding yourself back. Stop letting fear or anxiety hold you back. You gotta live. He told us to be strong and courageous. Meditate on his words day and night. That's right. So that you live. Yes. Moses told us at the mountain, choose life and live. We ain't living. We ain't living. We're not getting past us. We're not getting past the trauma we received as a kid. We're not getting past not fulfilling a dream. We're not getting past being a teenage mama. We're not getting past our daddy not being there. We're still walking in those trenches. We still chained. My man told me, said a quote earlier. He said, we're not slaves but we just still love to change the whips. That's what we are. That's what we have been in. We done had this world slammed upon us. Now we got to push it off of us. And then in pushing it off of us, we still like how it feels on top of us. We don't want to be free. We don't want to be, let me say this, we don't want to be completely free. We want to hold on to certain things. We kind of like that pain. You know, some people think people crazy because they like a little pain. It's pleasure to them. But that's not, that comes from trauma. That comes from continually being beaten and never reoccurring. You ever had a bad kid where you seem like no matter how many times you whoop them, they just still don't. I got one. But it just sometimes, man, it's the only thing that's gonna change them is them going face to face with y'all. Going into their own, to the seat of their soul, and having that conversation continue nonstop. This word we have here is siach, which means meditate. That's what the word meditate is translated to in Hebrew. And it's to converse with oneself, and hence allow tranquility, transitively to utter or commune, complain, declare, meditate, muse, pray, speak, talk within. So when you see, like in Joshua, where he tells us to meditate on the word day and night, it's not just the meditation, you know, just closing your eyes. It's actually speaking those things. You know, one of the traditions that started from Torah is you're supposed to sit and speak the law day and night. When you sit down with your kids, you're supposed to recite the law. Every Shabbat, you're supposed to recite the law. It comes repetition. But what repetition? Repetition becomes habit. It becomes natural. One of my favorite quotes is, "We are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit." That's by Aristotle. So you can't be excellent one time. It's a habit. You got to continually to be excellent. Kobe Bryant couldn't stand him as a player. I was like the biggest Kobe hater in the world. I ain't gonna front. But Kobe gained my respect one day. They played the Heat and they lost. And Kobe took two ball boys and paid them like $3,000 just to stay over for 3 hours after the loss, so he can shoot around to get his shot back. Like, you know what kind of mindset you gotta have to after a game? We ain't talking about a football or something like this. Is after a full 60-minute basketball game that he stays 3 hours later and he put up like 3,000 shots. Like, that's crazy. But if you look at how Kobe played, this is wild. It's not an accident. This is habit. This is what he going to do. Yeah, this ain't a one-time deal. He ain't go up and put 50 up one time. Kobe done put multiple 50s up. Kobe put an 81 point. So it's not a form of just one time. You got to continually, every day, every moment, actively be pursuing this thing. Go to the next slide for me. So, faith versus fear. How do you know when you are dealing faithfully or dealing crazy? Because you can, sometimes faith could be spewed as overconfidence, Or how do you know you're dealing with fear or you're just actually being cautious? My man Jacob had a real life scenario that everybody wasn't really paying attention. Let's go to Genesis 33. Pretty lengthy, but we're going to read it. So, you gotta know the backdrop of why he was on that road wrestling with the angel, where he was going. He was going back home. He was going to Canaan. But on that road, the one person he was scared of the most, old Esau. The devil, as we say. But no, I'm going to show y'all something we don't look at the character of Esau. Esau showed some great things in this scenario. Something I'm going to point to y'all to as we read it. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the two handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost. And Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. So you see, right, listen, that alone, you were absolutely right, that is a word. You see who he loved. He lets you know who he loved. Because them little side chicks didn't mean nothing. Y'all the pawns, y'all die first. You feel me? Leah, he had a little care for him. I had to spend 7 years with her, but
You wasn't the one.
you ain't the one, so keep moving. Rachel, Joseph, I gotta keep y'all. I'll fight to the end with y'all. So make sure, to my young men, make sure y'all find y'all Rachel.
All right. It is. All right.
And he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his face, fell on his neck and kissed him. And they wept, and he lifted up his eyes. Now, the chapter before, he did all this provision. He sent gifts to Esau. He sent messengers to scout him out because he didn't want to see Esau. And if he had seen him, this is what he wanted. As we keep reading, you're going to see Esau didn't do that because of none of them gifts or none of that. He did it because it's his brother. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't care what we had going on. You my brother. That's what the Torah says about that. Hey, we can't treat Esau no different. That's what the book says. He is your brother. Period. I ain't gonna get into the color of Esau. That's a whole different thing, man. But we gotta realize, man, a lot of times we go through certain things and with family members, particularly with brothers, those who have brothers. I know mine, I be wanting to kill mine all the time. But I love that joke to death now. I tell you right now, he in a bad place. And every day I wish he was home. Every day I wish he was right by me. Just so we can argue and I can slap him. But as long as he's with me, I know he's straight. And that's how Esau felt at the time. I got my little brother, like, gosh, like, where you been, dude? So, lifted up his eyes, go ahead, and saw the women and the children and said, who are those with thee? And he said, the children which El hath graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaidens came near, and their children, and they bowed themselves. Leah with her children came near and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, what meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, these are to find grace in the sight of my Lord, my master. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. And therefore I have seen thy face as though I had seen the face of hell. And thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because El hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough, and urged him, and he took it. And he said, let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. We'll stop right there. It goes on. Esau, they took the journey together. And Esau was going to go first. But due to the pregnant calves, the pregnant animals that Jacob had, Jacob said, no, let me go first so I can make the pace. Because if you go too fast, you'll leave. But I just wanted to point out this interaction with Esau. I don't think this gets enough credit for what it should. Like, this was such a great moment. It's like one of those climaxes in a movie where you watching the movie and the whole time you're thinking about how when they see each other, it's going to be this great big fight. And it's like, no, man, I missed you. You're my brother. For Jacob, overcoming was seeing Esau. That was his overcoming. Because this was the culmination, or the whole circle coming together from him stealing the blessing. It wasn't no more. After this, Jacob didn't see no more issues. All the issues came to the children. After this situation, Jacob ain't gonna do nothing else. He got the cane, he was straight. The boys grew up, the boys got ignorant. Just like young dudes do, they got stupid, they started doing wild stuff, and all the destruction came in. But this was Jacob's moment. This was Jacob's maturation. That's what he lived for. And so, his overcoming his fear led him to be able to make amends. Like, even then, in that conversation, you could see that he was still fearful. You know, he still made a point to show that, oh, you the master, I'm the servant. He still made that point to know that, you know, try to make a separation. Esau wasn't even on that. Esau just like, I'm so glad to see you. Like, I don't care about nothing. What happened? Like, it wasn't even on his mind of what happened. So a lot of times for us, when it comes to overcoming fear, when we overcome it, like me, I don't ride roller coasters. It's just not me. I'm avoiding things at all costs. But I remember one time she tricked me on one. Tricked me on a good one. Good. I said, all right. I fought her all the way on. I got on that thing. I had fun. I was mad. I was upset, but I did. I had fun. I actually enjoyed it. But I wasn't, it didn't break me where I get on some more. I was just glad I did. You know, it was like, all right, yeah, we did it. Cool. I know. But, no, I mean, we just fear, man, is one of the biggest things. He did not give us the spirit of fear. Second Timothy. Go ahead.
So when we look at Jacob
insisting that Esau take this blessing, we understand in the context of back in his time, it was considered a huge sign of disrespect if someone offered you a gift and you didn't accept it. Like literally, those are moments where like put hands on people. It was a big sign of disrespect. So when we look at this, Jacob was he was the weaker vessel, right? But he was willing to do whatever it took in order to make this amends, even if we got to fight this thing out.
Yep.
Like he knew it was equally amount of a chance that Esau was going to turn down the gift.
Yep.
As he was going to accept it. Now, we also got to look at this, and it's hidden right there. He said, I have seen the face of El. I have seen the face of Yahuwah. He had a visitation, and what was in him, what was imparted in him from that visitation, he had to get out. He had to give a gift. What we know about the worldly system is they take God's instruction, and they make it irreversible. They reverse it, right? So when we go to visit someone's house, what do we always say? We say, what can I bring? We always think about what can I bring, but the reality of the matter is you're the one doing the visiting. So the person, the host, which in this particular case is Jacob, the host is the one that's supposed to impart the gift. So he's like, I just received a visitation from Yahuwah. You have to accept this gift. If not, then that means that visitation from Yahuwah is now void, because what's in you has to come out. Now, in this particular case, as you mentioned, he understood that greater purpose than he did his fear. His fear was irrelevant at that time. He knew he had a visitation, and he knew that he had to make amends. So he wouldn't let Esau go. Like when you look at this, obviously in Ephesians explains it in further detail, he literally would not let Esau go until he accepted that gift. It wasn't just, hey man, please accept it. No, we're going to have to throw these hands, and you're going to end up accepting the gift anyways. So we got to make sure that when we receive these visitations, when we're going before Yah, the gift that's in us, it should not be solid when we leave his presence.
So, great you brought that up. Go back to the wrestling. Who was really, again, it was a battle in the mind. And that wrestling, he wasn't wrestling with God. He was wrestling with Esau. That was the whole point of him wrestling with this man. So, skip 2nd Ezra 6. And we're going to start at verse 25. For whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation at the end of your world. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of their inhabitants shall be changed, and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. So how do you overcome corruption? With faith. Faith in God. And the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. My gosh. So this is an end time prophecy that Ezra is having. And he's speaking how in those times, when this day shall come, that truth will be without fruit. People won't even know what real truth is. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him before whom I stood. And these words he said unto me, I have come to show thee the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more, and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before the Most High. For the mighty have seen the righteous dealing. He hath seen also the chastity which thou hast had ever since thy youth. And therefore hath he sent me to show thee all these things, and to say unto thee, be of good comfort, and fear not, and hasten not with the times that are past, to think vain things, that thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. And it comes to pass after this, that I wept again, and fast 7 days, in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was my heart vexed within me. Again I began to speak before the Most High. For my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Yahuwah, thou speakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and saidest thus, let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. And then was the spirit and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commandest thou a fair light to come forth by thy treasures, that thy work might appear. Upon the 2nd day thou madest the spirit of the firmament, and commandest it to depart asunder, and make a division betwixt the waters, and that one part might go up, and the other remain beneath. He goes on to just describe the creation in this. But he's letting us know that when we start seeing these things, we can't fear. Because fear, if fear drives you, if fear is your guide, you are walking straight into destruction. Like straight up and down, there's no 2 ways around it. Fear can't guide you. And we go to the last bullet, 2 Timothy 1:7. And we all know this one. For Yah have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Sound mind is a mind that is secure, a mind that is strong in what it has been strengthened in. So you may not have you can have a sound mind, it's crazy stuff. Like you can have a sound mind in whatever you take your time to meditate on. You got to really press forward in the word of God and meditate on this thing truly day and night, because if not, you will never overcome. And overcoming is that's our purpose. That is our purpose. Revelation talks about those that shall overcome, they shall live with God. And they should be the tree of life. With that, shalom.
Shalom.